Hello and welcome to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors, oxygenaddict.com.
Triathlon coaching for all your triathlon coaching needs.
We are bikehouse.co.uk.
Everything you might want for cycling.
And triathlonbox.co.uk.
Don't faff around in transition again. This is the way forward in transition.
I'm joined by Helen Murray. Helen, how are you, mate?
Hey, Rob. I'm fine, thanks. And I'm back from my Holly Bobs. And had a good time and saw the sunshine, which was quite nice.
Saw the sunshine, got some training in, did a race. Tell us about Cyprus.
Oh, Cyprus was great. Cyprus was cloudless.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was amazing. The wind's not that strong. I'm sure they do get sandstorms occasionally, but we didn't see one. So temperatures around mid-20s. Breakfast outside every morning. Incredible cycling.
What were the training facilities like? Did you have a decent pool where you stayed?
It was a decent pool, but it was not heated, and it was the very start of the season, so it was just a case of dipping my toes in and putting my legs in after a lot of riding. But I didn't actually get in the pool. So no, we weren't at a sort of triathlon specific place. But
okay.
There was a beach a 5-minute walk away. So we did some sea swimming in wetsuits. Temperature of the sea was probably around 17. So again,
pretty chilly.
Pretty chilly, but absolutely lovely in a wetsuit.
Okay.
And then, we got the odd bit of running in. But it was the roads for cycling were just incredible, Rob. Honestly, probably the best place I've been cycling.
Nice and smooth and no cars and the full-on...
Yeah. Lots.
It's like cycling in another century, isn't it?
Oh, you just didn't see. There were so few cars out on the roads. It was absolutely awesome. And it's fairly lumpy. It was definitely fairly lumpy. And some incredible descents. Yeah, it was great.
Oh, good. Yeah. Glad to hear it.
And then Ayia Napa as well. We went to Ayia Napa.
Yeah, so you raced in Ayia Napa, you weren't going clubbing.
No.
So good race then. Obviously, there was a bit of banter between you and me before you went out about will there be any rock stars there, and it turns out there were quite a few.
It was like, wow. Yeah, you said, oh, there'll be some ITU people there, Helen. No, don't be stupid, Rob. Why on earth would there be ITU people there? You sort of like rock up and there's this coach there in the car park and all these athletes getting off this coach. You're thinking, what? And then at registration, there were far too many tier rucksacks on going around. And you're like, okay.
You got the sense of it, did you?
Yeah, and then you're like, there's a lot of people in official tracksuits here, or with Russia or Ukraine on the back. Turns out, Rob, the Russian and Ukrainian national teams had their triathlon training camp out in Cyprus, and were using it as a bit of a end of camp blowout.
Yeah, so, I figured it would be. It's a lot of military presence over there, isn't there, from various countries, and a lot of military training camp type things going over there. Not military training, but athletes in the military go and train over there. So yeah, good.
It was
amazing. Got a bit of taste of the fast life, eh?
Well, no, because they were that far ahead. But so the Polyansky brothers were racing. They're the ITU guys who are always up there in the swim, out of the water pretty swiftly. And I spoke to one of them at the very end, and I was like, "Are you like Polyansky who does ITU racing, Polyansky?" And he was like, "Yeah." I said, "Oh." Why are you doing this? And he was saying about the training camp, and then he said, "Oh, I'm off to Australia." Oh, right, yeah. I'm doing the WTS race Gold Coast next weekend. You're like, oh my god! So they used the sprint race at Ayia Napa as a warm up for Gold Coast. That's quite cool, isn't it?
That is very cool. Yeah.
So
good. Good for you. First race on the board. It's nice to get a warm race in the middle of April.
Oh, it was great. It was really good. Yeah, it's awesome.
I managed to dip my toes into Lake Coniston yesterday, and boy, that wasn't warm. I'm telling you. I had some serious mental doubts about whether I can swim in Windermere in about 10 weeks' time.
Oh man, is it only 10 weeks away?
I think it's 11 weeks away to Triathlon X. Yeah. So I was all brave and it was sunny and I put my feet in the water. I was just like, and now my feet are blocks of ice.
You didn't put anything other than your feet in, did you?
No. It's just me and Xander. We were going like paddling and stuff, and we both went, yeah, we're not going in yet. And there was a woman kayaking practicing her Eskimo. Well, she practiced one Eskimo roll, and she came up and she just went, it feels as though my head has got ice cream inside my brain, which Xander's been fixated on ever since we came home. Who was that lady with ice cream in her brain? So yeah, in my mind I was just going, the race starts at 4:30 in the morning in Windermere. It's going to be 4 degrees, and so I'm just trying to kind of get over that a bit at the moment. And
there'll be a lot of peeing in the wetsuit going on.
Well, there was a lot of, I went out with the boys on Saturday on the bike and got it handed to me a little bit through the hills.
It'll be fine, Rob.
Yeah, well, it won't at the moment, the way things are going. I've got some serious miles I need to do.
It'll be fine. I'm being positive. It will be. Will be fine. The water will be cold, but you'll get through it.
If anyone else is going through these doubts at the moment out there, I'm right there with you.
Oh God. We did.
It doesn't go away, does it? 15 seasons of racing in it doesn't go away. The self-doubt.
No, we did one. One ride in Cyprus, which was 4 hours 40 something, and we didn't even get to 60 miles. And that's not right. It's not because we were ridiculously slow. It was rather hilly, and we did a lot of climbing in that time. But you just sort of think, oh man, we haven't even done 6. How on earth am I going to do 50 more and then do a marathon?
Yeah.
Let's not think about it.
Yeah. We're all going to be fine. Everyone up and down the country and around the world, people are rocking backwards and forwards going, we're going to be fine, we're going to be fine, we're going to be fine.
Positive thinking, people, positive thinking.
Do the training. That's what we've got to do. Do the training and they'll be right. Right, come on, let's talk about some race results from this weekend because there's been a bit going on. It's livening up, isn't it?
Oh, it is livening up. Can we start in Gold Coast, Rob?
Let's say we are race results brought to you by wearebikehouse.co.uk, your friendly local bike house in Gatley, which is in South Manchester. Actually, one of the guys I was riding with this weekend had his new bike built up by Bike House.
Nice.
For a very reasonable rate. A lot more reasonable than the rate that it cost me to get my new bike cabled at my local shop. So I was regretting not going to see these guys. Yeah, very impressive. 90 quid for a full bike build from scratch. So I was quite impressed with that.
That's really good, isn't it?
They were saying to me, have you heard of this new place in Gatley, Bike House? And I was like, you've not been listening to our podcast, have you?
No, they're good guys. I remember once stopping on a ride when my bike was squeaking and they had a look over it for me, which is so kind of them.
Yeah, they're cool. Their new website's coming soon, so if you're not local, you'll be able to check them out and get stuff and support the sponsors that support the show soon. So shall we start over in the Gold Coast?
Yeah, let's do that. And Helen Jenkins, oh my God, what a race from Helen Jenkins, Rob. Did you see much of it?
She's come back, hasn't she?
Oh, so impressive.
We said that if she gets the training in and she can stay injury free, she's got the talent. We've always said that. And this comes on the back of, and I think Joe Skipper's got to take the credit for this. Skipper's thing from last week, why did they not just attack Jorgensen on the bike?
Yeah.
They know they're going to get beaten if they sit in. Somebody's got to take it to her.
And that was exactly what Helen Jenkins, Flora Duffy and Andrea Hewitt did. The three of them absolutely busted themselves on the bike and worked together as a trio and pulled away, didn't they?
Good for them. I'd love to know whether they sat down and hatched a plan beforehand or whether it was just, it was a plan hatched on the road, but they were obviously willing to ride together, weren't they?
Yeah. At the end, you could see the hug that Andrea Hewitt gave to Helen Jenkins in the finish area. And it was just like, and those two have been racing together in the ITU World Series for ages, haven't they?
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't be, they're probably two of the more, I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, but two of the more mature athletes still racing ITU, and
she's still pretty young though, isn't she?
Jenkins,
she's been around for a while, but I don't think she's even 30 yet.
I think she is.
I remember reading this the other day and thinking, I can't believe that she's only whatever age it was. If she's in her early 30s,
early 30s.
If she is actually,
she's early 30s,
maybe 31. Yeah. So
yep.
She's got another 10 years ahead of it. Yeah,
32.
32. Yep. There you go. Sorry. Okay. 10 more years at Ironman after the Olympics then.
Well, that's it. Again, if she can stay injury free. I know she has been around and performing for ages. 2-time world champion. Really, really one of the hopefuls, wasn't she, for London? But then revealed afterwards that she had that injury and still
injury the whole way through.
So,
and she was in it even with. Did she finish fourth in London or fifth?
Fifth, I think.
There was that bunch of 5 of them, wasn't there? And even with a few K to go, she was still hanging on in there. Yeah. So she's an absolute warrior.
Oh, absolutely. So they had this 90-second lead going into T2. And then the way she just flew out of transition and just, you couldn't see her eyes because she had her sunglasses on. But I'm sure those eyes were just kind of in a world of pain, but at the same time, absolutely fixated on just getting to that finish line and staying ahead.
Now, do you think Jorgensen didn't have as good a run as usual? Because I'm thinking Helen Jenkins has only lost, if she was 90 seconds ahead, she only lost 50 seconds of that lead over the run.
Yeah.
So, because everyone talks about Jorgensen as being, leagues ahead of everybody else as a runner.
She ran nearly a minute faster than, 50 seconds faster than everyone else.
Yeah. But if that's all Jenkins needs, if she only needs a minute and you can put a minute and a half on the bike, I think it's going to make a lot of people think, actually, it really is worth doing this on the bike. It really is worth going for it. And especially on a hilly technical course like the one they'll have in Rio.
Yep. Yeah.
They might even get, because it's going to favour the small group with tight corners and steep hills and descents and things, rather than
the bigger group.
The great big pack are going to lose time running into each other, aren't there? There's always going to be crashes in that race.
Yeah. So I think it has shown, and so Helen Jenkins is the first person to have beaten Gwen Jorgensen in 12 or 13 races.
Yeah.
So finally pulled that winning streak to an end. Yeah.
And it's great to get in somebody's head like that in the run up to the Olympics. Exactly. If she'd gone in unbeaten, then everyone would be thinking, well, it's game over already. But nice one, Helen.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, has she officially sealed her selection for Rio now?
No,
with that?
She has not officially sealed her Rio selection. She so selectors were using that race, Gold Coast, for the women's for that third place. They were sort of going to say, all eyes are going to be on that one. So it was Helen Jenkins against Jodie Stimpson. However, I heard an interview with Brendan Purcell, the performance director, and he pretty much said, this was amazing by Helen. We're going to have a chat about it this week. We will do all we can to support Jodie Stimpson. So you sort of...
Really?
No, sorry. Not in a, we will do all we can to support her to go to the Olympics. No, we will do all we can to continue to support her, was what he said.
Meaning what, though?
Oh, well, I kind of read into that.
I'm being a bit thick here. I'm being an emotionally intelligent male.
No, well, I read into those comments. Yeah, Helen's pretty much done enough. Jodie didn't have the race that she's capable of. But we'll continue to support her as an athlete, sort of thing. That was what I read into it. But because
you've got 4 potential medal hopefuls, haven't you?
Yeah.
And Stimpson, despite not going as well as Jenkins in this race, is still totally quality athlete, medal contender. She's proved that she can race well, and she's proved that she can take the mental aspect of being at a big championships and win medals there as well. So one slightly off race doesn't make somebody a bad athlete. So they've got to keep looking, and any kind of injury problems, it's in your best interest, isn't it, to have 4 people, one of which who can just slot in.
Totally. And so that's the thing. You kind of think you don't want anyone to get injured. I mean, that's just horrendously horrible. However, if someone does, brilliant, you have got a full.
You need a reserve that's of the quality that can go and
get
do
a medal.
It, don't you? Yeah.
So It looks
Your take is it looks like they were taking Jenkins.
Yeah.
Okay. Good knowledge.
No, well, that's just what I read into hearing an interview. I might have,
Maybe we're influencing the selectors right now by being on our podcast and talking
reading through the lines. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah, cool. Did you watch the men's race?
I did. I actually saw a little bit of it live, Rob.
Oh, nice. You must have got up early for that, did you?
Oh, I had to go it was on when I got to work. I was like, oh, good timing. They were on the run.
Awesome.
So, yeah, the beginning bit of my shift, I was like, happy days. I'm getting to watch the run here. And so I didn't see the swim or the bike. And, the run. Did you see Johnny Brownlee at the finish?
I'd heard he collapsed.
Oh, my God.
Was it a proper heat exhaustion type deal?
Yeah, he was nailed on in. So he and Mola were running together for most of probably up until about, 7-8K. And then Mola kind of went. And then Alasa, the other Spaniard, was in third. Brownlee was pretty much nailed on for second if he had just carried on going at the pace that he was at. However, he was so out of it that he was literally banging into the finishing fence in the home straight towards the blue carpet.
Oh no!
Not quite as bad as the famous Ironman finish where she looks like a duck. Not quite that, but the legs had properly gone. He was not sort of standing straight or like running up straight. They were gone, and he was banging into the fence. And literally, the medics pretty much caught him on the finish line and put him in a wheelchair straight away.
Oh boy! And he got caught like it with 50 meters to go. Or
something like that. Alasa came past him. Yeah, it might have been like 100 meters or something like that. He just.
Oh man, that's
not a good way.
That's racing on the red line right there, isn't it? When you can't quite get to the finish line of an Olympic distance race because you've left it all out there.
Yeah, but
hardcore.
So it was quite impressive.
Right, so looking to Rio, we've seen both the Brownlees struggle in the heat, haven't we now?
Yeah, it's going to be. Yes, it is going to be winter in Rio, which doesn't. I know that doesn't mean a whole load, but. It will still be hot, but it won't be, it's not going to be the middle of summer.
Okay. And how hot was it at the weekend in Australia?
See, I want to say like
baking?
30. Yeah, baking.
Okay.
For the guys, it was baking because they started after the women.
Still, it's got to be hot and humid in Rio all year round, surely. It's not going to be like 18 degrees, is it? It's going to be in the high 20s and 85% humidity, you'd imagine, all year round, and then it gets hot in the summer.
Yeah. Well, you just sort of hope that they will go, they will do more heat training in the run up to it.
You'd imagine you would, for sure.
Yeah.
Still, it's a hard thing to train for, isn't it?
Yep.
If your system doesn't like it.
I know. And it looked like Ali Brownlee, so it was his first race, Gold Coast, since surgery. And he finished, I think, 36 or something. And I thought, watching the run, he doesn't look great on that run. But the commentators were saying, he's still running fine. He's obviously just lacking race fitness. So,
right, okay.
Who knows?
Oh, okay. So, and he had to go on a bike as well, didn't he, Ali Brownlee?
Yep. He did, go for it on the bike. So I do honestly think they will peak perfectly for Rio, and it'll be a great battle between the Brownlees and Gomez and Mola. Richard Murray, unfortunately, he broke his collarbone, I think, Robin, at Gold Coast. He came off his bike.
Oh, nightmare.
Yeah, so...
Oh, let's hope he heals quickly, because it'd be awful to see him miss the Olympics. That could be a real proper 5 or 6 way, the guys smashing each other on the bike and the run. It could be a fantastic race, that, couldn't it?
Yeah.
And who knows, that the 6 of them are such of a high standard that if somebody gets away on the bike with some company willing to work, who knows what could happen. It's going to be a proper... I don't think there's any doubt in London who people thought was going to win, and you've got the home advantage. But in Rio, wow, watch the sparks fly.
It's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
So are you
going to be able to get out and watch it, do you think? Can you book some time off from work?
No, I think I'll be...
Oh, really? Pull a favour in. Just let me out for an hour. You'd be sitting in some office with it going on underneath you.
I think it will be a case of that. I'll be sitting in an air conditioned office, which probably could be Timbuktu, but it'll be Rio. Yeah, it'd be great.
Rio, but 10 miles away in the business district somewhere.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
Okay. All right, come on. We need to move on because we've been blathering on about this for ages. Let's go next to Ironman South Africa.
Yes, where, oh, wow, we had, again there, did you see any of it? Oh, amazing racing. We had 2 3:02 marathons from the women.
That's amazing.
Isn't it?
Yeah, that's properly amazing.
So, let's start off with the women because I know we had three Brits who we were looking out for there. So it was won by Kaisa Lehtinen of Finland in 9:06.50. Second was Susie Cheetham in 9:09.49, and third was Lucy Gossage in 9:11.41. Jodie Swallow had led out of the water. She was leading on the bike, and then she had she came off her bike. And absolutely, I saw a photo of her elbow. It looked horrible. There was blood everywhere. So she did get back on, but I think she was just in too much pain.
Yeah.
So
it's too fast going an Ironman, isn't it, to do that with a smashed up elbow?
Yeah.
What happened to her? Do you know? Did she just?
I don't.
Just one of those things.
I
don't know.
I don't know.
Okay.
Don't know. But it. I saw a picture of the woman who won, so Kaisa Lehtinen, run past Annabelle Luxford, who at that point had.
Yes, I saw that.
Have you seen
clip.
it?
Yeah, she was flying. Yeah, it's like 7-minute miling never looked so fast, did it?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a proper surge gone in there to get by.
Yeah.
So Annabelle Luxford, had 11 minutes off the bike and got run down.
Yeah.
Bless her, by all 3 of them. Lehtinen, Gossage and Cheetham.
Yeah, she did, but Luxford did a 4:49 bike split.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, she did say afterwards, oh, maybe I went a little bit too fast on the bike.
But one day she'll put that together.
Yeah.
She'll hold it together and she'll have a decent run, and that'll be the victory for her, won't it?
Exactly.
So brave racing like that. And so presumably Lehtinen goes by, and then does Cheetham catch Gossage as well during the run?
I think so.
Looks like Cheetham had a couple of minutes down and Gossage getting off the bike.
Yep.
Yeah, it looks that way. Good racing.
Yep. So fab. Really well done, ladies. In the men's race, it was won by Ben Hoffman in 8:12.37, Tim van Berkel of Australia second in 8:14, and then Marco Albert of Estonia in 8:18.
There we go. Right. Next up, Tim Don wins Ironman 70.3 Brazil.
He did, didn't he? Isn't that the second time? Didn't he win? Or was it a different race maybe last year?
I think there's a couple of races over there now, aren't there?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this was the South American Championships in Palmas in Brazil. So Don looks like he pretty much had a domination there, winning in 3:53 from Leon Griffin of Australia in 3:56 and Cody Beals in 3:59. Now you're going to have to help me out here. I can't pronounce the lady's winner's name.
Well, she's Canadian. Magali Tessier.
Tessier,
no,
is that how you pronounce it?
Tessier. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Tessier.
Sorry, apologies.
Helen, you've never let the show down on the pronunciation before.
I don't know. Magali Tessier. I don't know. From Canada in 4:21.
Sounds better with the French accent, though, the French-Canadian accent. Well done.
Merci. Anya Beranek of Germany in 4:25, and then Lindsay Corbin of the US in 4:28. Apologies for the pronunciation of Magali. I will get it right for next time.
Get it right. And then the other one to mention is Sanders taking out 70.3 Texas.
Yeah, and he did a 1:58 bike.
Back to back, because he won last weekend as well, didn't he? We were saying there's no way surely he's going to be in shape to bounce back and win from that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Uber biker.
Oh, so yeah, Lionel Sanders won in 3:40 ahead of Andreas Dreitz and Michael Weiss, and then in the women's it was Sarah Haskins, Jenny Seymour and Jodie Robertson. 1, 2, 3.
So Starkowitz led off the bike, apparently, a 1:58.09 on the bike.
Oh, sorry, did I just say that? Sorry, I got confused.
No, but Sanders put down a 1:58 as well. He was only 30 seconds slower. So they've both done 1:58 bike splits. The difference being Sanders goes on to run 1:13 off the back of, Starkowitz has always been that kind of like the afterburners and let's desperately try and hang on during the run.
Yeah.
But it looks like Sanders has got, to put it in perspective, he's run something like 7 minutes faster than Starkowitz off the bike there to run a 1:13 and win in 3:40. There's people taking longer than that to do Olympics, aren't there?
Yes.
It's just insanity.
Wow. He's impressive, isn't he?
He really is. It's hard to see anybody, if he can stay injury free, it's hard to see anybody in the lineup to take Sanders down in the 70.3 championships at the end of the year. If in this kind of form early season, he's obviously got to take a break and then build back up again. He said he's gonna concentrate on the 70.3 stuff this year and try and really put that together. But I think, what a great career trajectory for him if he can put it together over 70.3 like this year, kind of regather himself and then rebuild towards the Ironman distance stuff.
Yeah.
His swim just isn't there yet for Ironman distance, and he's just a bit too far down out the water, I think. But over 70.3, he's showing that he can ride through, and his run is... somebody told me he's run a 65-minute half marathon.
Wow. That's so cool. And I just love the fact that, we did an interview with him, a couple of months ago now. You spoke to him. Yeah. Brilliant interview. I'm going to say, if you haven't heard it, honestly, go back into...
Why, thank you, Helen.
Yeah, well, www.oxygenaddict.com/podcast. Search for...
It's episode 56.
Yeah, go and listen to it. It's absolutely brilliant because he's got such a good story. But what my point is, he suggested in that interview that he's really, really not the finished article in any way. He was saying there's so much still that he's learning and that he's doing. And so I just think it's like, how fast can he go?
Yeah. Yeah, he really is the vanguard of the next generation, I think. And when he puts it together for a couple of seasons over 70.3, if he stays injury free and he can obviously deal with the heat, he's had a couple of hot races there, get him into Kona. And, if he can lop a few minutes off that swim time, there's going to be some proper racing. He's going to really bring something to the mix. Yep. And he's a really nice guy as well. That's the other thing about it. There's no airs and graces about him. He's just a really down-to-earth, friendly chap. So big thumbs up from us. Should we give him Helen's fist pump of joy for the week?
Yeah, I think so. Well done.
Helen's pat on the back and fist pump of joy go to Lionel Sanders.
Now, Rob, talking about pats on the back and fist pumps of joy, should we do our age group of the week?
Yeah, let's do our age group of the week because it's also from Ironman South Africa. We've had loads of nominations this week come through, but we had a little discussion and we really think there can only be one winner, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Well done. Age group of the week, Jane Handsome at Ironman South Africa. Won her age group. She led right out of the water, didn't ever give up that lead. She did a 10:21, which is amazing, in the 45 to 49 age group category. She's on her way to Kona. She did a 1:02 swim, a 5:35 bike, and a 3:37 run. And as we said, it's solid. It's sort of it's really impressive, and it's just solid, and that's fantastic. So well done, Jane.
Did Jane win in Kona? Did she win her age group? Did I get that right? Did she finish second?
I think she won.
She definitely podiumed, didn't she? Because I remember a picture of her with the big winners bowl. How do you pronounce it? The UK
yeah, something like that.
Those big winners bowls. It's something like that, isn't it? She's a training partner and teammate of, I think, either and or Charlie Pennington and Paul Burton, the guys from Blackline London. I think it's Paul Burton, actually. So she was getting a lot of love from that team down there. So well done, Jane. You are our age group performance of the week.
Fab.
So let's shoot over. Interview of the week this week, brought to us by triathlonbox.co.uk. If you're struggling to carry your stuff over from the car to a race, get yourself a Triathlon box, fit all your shoes, your pumps, your gels, your water bottles, your spare jacket, your extra packet of polos, your gonks. Get them all in a box. Cleverly balances on the top tube of your bike. Don't be weaving down the middle of the road in Llanberis like I was with an enormous bag swinging around and trying to crash you before you even get to transition. Takes us to our interview with the wonderful Joe Skipper, who was a bit of co-hosting duty last week in Helen's absence. So after he was on doing that, I managed to snag him for a nice half-an-hour interview about what he's been up to since the last time we interviewed him on the show. So we'll hand you over to our interview of the week with Joe Skipper. Joe Skipper, welcome to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. Thanks for coming back on. Seems like only minutes ago that we were having you as co-host on the show, and now here you are as a guest.
Yeah. No, it's good to get back on and do another interview. Hopefully they're not fed up with me after the amount of times I've been on the show already.
You can never have too much Joe Skipper. And we're managing to record this one as well, because I think the last interview I did with you, the software buggered it all up and we never managed to actually get it live. So I've got it checked here. It's working fine and we can get all the goss from you, mate.
Awesome. That's good.
So the thing I want to first get into with you is obviously talking about your most recent races. We had a catch up after you went over to Kona, and then you've had a bit of a winter break, and then it was straight into some early season racing down in New Zealand, wasn't it? So let's talk a little bit about that. How did your training go over the winter, firstly?
When I started back training, I think it was in November, and I was really doing a lot of swimming to try and improve it. But then on the 30th of December, I had a big bike crash, and I broke my collarbone and ruptured the ligaments, which put me out for a while. And it was really frustrating because obviously I'd made some big gains in the swim, and it had been going really well. And then I couldn't swim for like 5-6 weeks, and couldn't run for 3 weeks. But then since I've been actually able to get back into training, it's been going quite well. But that was a massive just downside to the winter, just because of the gains I've been seeing on the swim.
Yeah, massive setback, especially in the middle of the British winter time when you want to be in the pool and out running, because cycling's really difficult, isn't it? What a horrible time to have it happen, man. Has it all healed up okay?
Yeah, it's all healed up. You can see the bone sticking up, and it's always going to be like that probably for the rest of my life. But it's not really affecting my swimming. Like, I can feel it sometimes if I do a little bit of breaststroke, but front crawl, backstroke, and butterfly is absolutely fine. It just doesn't look very pretty. But when I did that, actually, I was having to ride on the turbo sometimes twice a day, as if once wasn't bad enough for but to go on it twice a day it can crack you, can't it?
Mate, I feel your pain. I've got to do it myself sometimes, just for mental health reasons. You've sometimes just got to do it, and you can't get out for a run. It's but man, it'll have brought you biking on a little bit, I suppose, at the very least.
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah.
All right, so let's fast forward then. Presumably you managed to get yourself back in pretty decent swim shape, because you were swimming well in New Zealand, weren't you?
I did surprise myself in the races there, but especially considering the times what I was hitting in training, because before the race, when I was in the pool and I did a few, I only actually could do a few efforts in between the races, like leading into Wanaka. I hadn't actually done any efforts. I was only up swimming like 1,500 meters, 2K in training. I think I did one swim just for Wanaka of like 3.8K, in intervals and stuff like that. And I could feel it towards the end. But I was swimming like probably like 6-7 seconds, 100 slower than what I was prior to the crash. So I was really surprised with how I did there, because had I not crashed and I had actually been able to carry on building on the swim form what I had in December, I might have been miles ahead, getting out the water.
And how far down were you out of the water this year? And let's go with Wanaka first, and let's talk about the Wanaka race, because obviously you had that one first, and it didn't quite go to plan, did it? After a bit of a nightmare with your bike going over. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, yeah, it was an absolute travesty, that was. But first of all, it started when I got to the airport, and I couldn't take my road bike, because Emirates wanted to charge me an excess baggage fee, even though I'd rang them up before, and they said that I could like take the road bikes or take the bikes, and I thought it'd be the same as the other airlines where they give you like 23 kilos for each bike. But it turns out that you just had 30 kilos in total, and that you could take 2 bikes, but they had to still be under 30 kilos. So obviously each bike would have had to been like 15 kilos, and that would have been just hand luggage for clothes.
Yeah.
So get to the airport, and then they wanted like 50 something pounds a kilo. Obviously, because I've got like I know, so it would have cost like £2,000 to get the bike out there, and then another £2,000 to take it back, which is like almost double what the bike actually is worth. So I had to end up leaving it with a guy who I'd never actually even met. Like I just put on Facebook, is anyone local able to look after my bike? And he got in contact with me, so he came to the airport, picked it up, and I just took whatever I could. Like put loads of clothes on, squeezed whatever I could in hand luggage, and managed to get my race bike out there. But
no, what a nice guy that chap is, eh?
Yeah.
Fair play to him.
Yeah, I know. It really helped me out because I'd already made one flight, obviously, like with from Norwich to Manchester. So it wasn't as if I could get my parents to come and pick the bike up and take it home, or a friend or something. I was like
a
couple of hundred miles away. So but then when I got out there, Boardman ended up sending me another bike which I could use in between the races. It came just before Wanaka, so I had it mainly in between like Wanaka and Taupo.
Oh, that was good of them. Hey, it's good to have a decent sponsor like that who'll help you out when you really need it.
Yeah, it is. They've been really good. Like if I ever need any parts, then they send them out like really quick. Like especially like for the races, like when I was in Texas, they sent me like a brake block out, and it literally came like within the next day. So yeah, they are really good like that.
Yeah, cool. All right, so you got yourself all sorted into New Zealand. You've landed. You're taking your race bike out for a test ride, and what happens next?
Well, I hadn't even took my race bike out for a test drive. I'd literally like opened the bag, and the headset had been like damaged.
Oh, breaks your heart.
Yeah. So, and that was like when I got back. So I had all that stress of like taking the bike like at the airport before I went, and obviously I got back home and I find that's like the headset's been damaged. So I try and take that into a bike shop to get it sorted, and they think we've got it done. I take it out, do a couple like 2-3 rides. The headset comes loose. I take it back into the bike shop and tell them that it's come loose. So then they said, all right, we'll do it tighter. Took it for another couple of rides before the race, and it was fine. Like no signs of it. Like just was riding like it would normally. And then in the race, 50 kilometers in, the headset came completely loose, and it was impossible to ride it because I was having to like cycle at like a right angle just to go straight. So it was quite dangerous. So
you can't do that, can you?
No. And then someone on the route tried to get me an Allen key. He said, "I'll go home, carry on riding, and we'll try and fix it." He brought some Allen keys, but he didn't have one that fit. So yeah, so I couldn't do anything then. I carried on riding about another 15 kilometers because you had to ride back anyway. And someone had some Allen keys, and I tightened it up. But then when I got back round at the end of the first lap, I was like 30 minutes down then. So there was just, and your motivation's just, you've got no motivation to carry on because of everything that's happened already. You just think, oh, like sod it kind of thing. Like, I know it's not good, but that's what I thought. And then I thought I'm just gonna have to wait for New Zealand.
Oh, it's understandable though, mate. You're a professional and you're racing for money. You can't go out and smash yourself in a marathon when you're 30 minutes down and you're not going to earn any pennies.
Yeah,
it's just not reasonable, is it?
No, I was tempted to like carry on for the bike and maybe do a lap of the run, but then I thought, are you really going to gain anything? I didn't really have any motivation to like push it, like not even push it, but to literally just ride another lap, if you know what I mean. Like I was behind the girls' race at that point, so
well, you've done well to get away with that without managing to fall off, mate, to be fair, haven't you? The fact that you don't want to be out on a bike when the headset's not working and connected properly.
Yeah, and there was quite a fast descent on it, and the wind was really bad. Like I think 3 or 4 of the girls had big crashes where they like face planted the road, and I know one of them was in a really bad way apparently after the race. So yeah, it was quite dodgy conditions with the wind and exposed roads.
Don't need that, do you? Don't need that at all.
It's a lovely place, though.
Oh, it's meant to be absolutely beautiful, yeah.
Incredible.
It really is.
Yeah, lovely town. Loads of nice cafes and stuff like that, and the views are amazing. So there are worse places to be. You could, even though everything was going wrong, it wasn't as like being there made it a lot worse. If I was in I don't know, Bolton or something, everything was going wrong, then God knows what I'd have been like.
So how long did you have after Wanaka to get through to New Zealand then? Was it 2 weeks?
2 weeks, yeah, exactly.
2 weeks through then. So I'd imagine you probably it's not a bad way to do a taper for a race, is it really, to go and have a hard blowout for 40 or 50k and then have to ease up and
Well, yeah, I mean,
decent place for your race in Taupo.
the thing is, I'd hardly done any training anyway because of the injury with my collarbone. So I'd only actually probably done about 3 weeks training, like once I'd got back into it, like before Wanaka. So it was another 2 weeks. So it was like, God, if I think about my running, it was like 3 weeks of running, then 3.5 weeks of running, then taper and for Wanaka with like 9 days or whatever, and then another 2 weeks in between the races, and then New Zealand. So in like 3 months or in like 9 weeks, I'd only actually done like 3 weeks of proper run training. So I was thinking, like, God, I'm certainly going to be fresh for this race because I've hardly done anything.
You're definitely fresh for it then. That's good.
Yeah.
And let's talk us through the New Zealand race and Ironman New Zealand itself, in terms of, you're obviously lining up. You know you've got Cameron Brown there, who's won the race. Is it 10 times or 11
It was
times?
11 times up until then, and then he made it 12.
Yeah. So how did the race play out for you?
Obviously, you start off in the swim and it goes really fast like normal, and you just try and get onto the best feet you could. And I was on like Matt Hansen's feet, and I was thinking, this is all right, like I'll try and stay with him. And it felt okay, it felt quite comfortable at the start, and I knew I was on for a good time for the swim because I'd set my Garmin to beep after 27 minutes, and the swim's just a straight out and back. So I knew if I was past halfway, then and it beeped, I was on for like a pretty decent swim, and it was like quite a bit over halfway when it beeped for 27. So I knew I was like, just to give me a bit of an idea of like what kind of time I'm on for, just give me a kick up the arse if I was if I was going too slow. But around halfway, I just couldn't stay with him. I think it was just the complete lack of like swimming what I've done, where it just gradually started grinding you down, and I could feel the lactate building up in my arms, and he just gradually pulled away, and then that was it. And I ended up getting caught by a group and then just staying in there. And I think I ended up doing 53 something on the swim in the end, and I know Matt did a 51, and I think the top guys like Dylan and a couple of others swam 46, but Cameron Brown, which was the main group where you'd want to be in, were about 49 something, I think.
So you weren't a million miles off then, were you, really? Sort of 4 minutes down, and Cam Brown at that point is,
yeah,
especially considering you've been injured, man, it's definitely showing that your swimming's going in the right direction, isn't it?
Yeah, considering I'd been injured, it wasn't a million miles away, but you can't really give 4 minutes away at that, like in these races now, because you just, like the amount of energy you save on the bike, just being in that group is just so crucial when it comes down to the run. Like, and plus you can do like moves off the front, but it was a big confidence boost because I was surprised I actually managed to swim that quick despite not doing anything, and obviously not being it wasn't as if I was a strong swimmer beforehand, and I've missed like 5 weeks, and then I've come back and I'm only swimming like 3 minutes like slower than what I was. I mean, I probably swam about the same as what I would have last year. So that, it was a big confidence boost, because then with another couple of months of like decent swim training, I could be making even bigger gains.
Good stuff. So we're onto the bike then, man. What's going on here?
I thought that I'd just settle into my own groove. I didn't have power on, because it had been like playing me up a bit, and it was giving me really low numbers, like in training, like just ridiculously low. So I just thought I don't want to see that. So I just used my heart rate. So I had an idea that I could hold around 150 beats per minute. So I just literally just kept it around 150-ish. And if I caught someone who I knew like could outrun me, like when I caught Matt Hansen, I knew I'd have to put a bit of a dig in, because I thought that he's going to try and stay with me on the bike, let me tow him up towards the lead group, and then he's going to run away from me. So when I caught him, I put a big effort in. Managed to distance him. That was the only real tactical bit. And then the big mistake for me was on the turn on the way back. So about 40 kilometers to go, I'd seen we were catching. I was only 3 minutes behind the leaders, and they had just dropped a lot of time. So I knew that if I kept it up, they would slow down even more, and I would catch them coming into transition. Dougal Allen caught me, and I said to him, let's take it in turns and work together. And he said, yeah, okay. And he did the first turn, and I seemed like I recovered loads, and then I went and did a turn, and then accidentally dropped him. And then I looked behind because we were going to do I think it was 6-7 minutes each. I looked behind, he was quite far behind, so I thought, well, I'll just have to settle back into my own rhythm and get on with it, because I thought maybe he's blown up after catching me. I didn't know. And then coming into town with about 2 miles to go, he came past me again, and I think that was the biggest tactical error during that race for me. If I'd have just gone a bit easier,
sat up a little bit and waited for him and ridden together through his bad patch kind of thing.
Yeah, just when I went on the front, if I'd have just kept it at the same pace what I was going, so he could recover, and then the next time when he went on the front, he would be able to go a little bit faster, and then obviously I could have gone a little bit faster because he'd have been recovered. We would have gone a bit faster, and I think I was only 40 seconds behind Cameron Brown and Callum Millward and all that group coming into T2, but we would have gone definitely 40 seconds faster. So I would have been on the back of them starting the marathon, and that could have been a different story, because the way they started the run, they started a lot harder than what they were going to hold for the marathon. So I couldn't start faster than them really to catch up 40 seconds, because I know they started off running 3:35s, 3:40 Ks. So to catch 40 seconds, I'd have had them running 3:25 kilometers for 4 or 5 at the start of the marathon, which is just going to that's not
going to pay you back at the end of the run.
Exactly, yeah. So I kind of just had I was like that. I was far enough behind that I just had to settle into my own rhythm and just hope for the best. Just try and run a decent, a well-paced, decent marathon. Whereas if I had have been with them starting the run, it might have been different. It might not have. I might have blown up, but I would have had the only way I would have won that race would have been if I'd have started the run with Cameron Brown.
Yeah, so what went through your head then when you were only sort of 40 seconds behind getting into T2 and you came out? And from what I read, Cal Millward basically threw it down on the first 10k, didn't he?
Yeah.
And really tried to hammer Brownie. After having virtually caught them and then seeing them run away at what's obviously a kind of bonkers pace, what was going through your head at that point?
Well, I knew they'd blow up. I knew maybe one of them would, or maybe two. But to be honest, I didn't know I was only 40 seconds behind when I got into transition, because when I got in the tent, no one was in there, so they must have just gone out the tent as I got in. So I thought I was 2-3 minutes behind, and it was only
So you didn't know at that point.
No, but once you get onto the run, you do an out and back. So I went out at transition to do the out and back, and I could see them all, and I was like, Jesus, I'm literally right on the back of all these guys. So I got a massive confidence boost. I thought, God, I can win this race. And I just thought I'll settle to my own pace. If I run 2:45. I thought I'd have to run a bit under. I thought I'd have to run a 2:44 probably to win it, and that would have been right because I was 2:45, 30 or 40. So had I run 2:44, I would have run it, but I wasn't good enough on the day to do it. But I knew if they started off that quick, because people always do in the Ironman and they always blow up. And I'd practiced it before in Barcelona when I had a few mechanical issues on the bike. I thought, well, I'm just going to try running an Ironman marathon at an even pace, just to see, as a bit of an experiment, how it is. Do you run faster? Does it and it worked out really well. I ran a 2:45 there, and it was the easiest Ironman marathon I've ever done. So I thought, I've got no choice if I want to get a decent result, is to run my best marathon what I can. I'm too far behind to go out hard and play it tactically, because obviously there's times and there's a time and a place where you do need to go harder than what you can maintain if you're trying to break someone. And if you're running side by side, it's all mental then, isn't it? Whereas when you're behind them and you need to just, it's going to come down to the wire, you just need to kind of run your own race. So I knew that for me to get the best result when I started the run would have been just to run the fastest marathon I could.
And how does this work in your training then, Joe? Do you practice this kind of, presumably that's a very specific kind of training that's only really going to be needed by people like yourself who are going to have to race somebody in an Ironman marathon. Do you practice doing surges during your long runs to prepare yourself for this?
No, in my long runs, when I get fit enough, I'll run, say, I know before the ITU Worlds last year, I started off and I'd run 13, 14 miles steady, and then I'd finish at 5-6 miles hard. And then as I got fitter, it'd be 11 miles steady, 9 miles hard, or whatever. And then to the end when I was doing 7 miles steady and then 13 miles hard. But I just run it at a hard pace. It's not flat out, but it's hard where you're struggling to hang on. But
so it's more like a progression run then, where you go out steady and then you pick it up part way through and hold it on to the end kind of thing.
yeah, it's pretty much like that. And I just go by feel, so it feels like like it's tough to hold on. You are hanging on, but when you don't, I don't really think you need to practice surges, because like if you just need to get as fit as you can in training, and then in the race you can do it. You just, because I've done other races before where I managed to win a 10 miler last winter against a guy and who I trained with. So I knew what he's like. I know he was a quicker sprinter than me, and I'd done this race in a big block of training, so my legs felt terrible at the start, and we were running together, and every time I did a mile, it was slower than when he did a mile, and I felt pretty bad, and I thought, well, I'm going to get dropped in a minute here, and it got to about 5 miles in, and I thought, well, he's going to beat me in the sprint, and he's stronger than me today, so I'm probably not going to beat him. So I thought, I'm just going to go really hard for a mile, just to see what happens, because I thought I'm about to get popped anyway, so I might as well just spice it up a bit and see what happens. And I went hard for a mile, and I ended up dropping him. And then I thought, bloody hell, like I wasn't expecting that. And then I just carried on. I managed to beat him, and it was just purely mental, because he was way better than me on the day, and he's a better sprinter than me, and all he had to do was hang on to me. And I wasn't even planning on carrying that surge to the end. I was only doing it for a mile. If he'd been with me, I'd have probably dropped back. It's just mental games, isn't it? It's just how much do you want it, really?
Yeah, I think a lot of it does come down at your level to the mental edge of who's going to push themselves the hardest and who can hang on the most at that point.
That's the fun of it, isn't it? Like how much you can push yourself, really. Like that's the appeal.
It's great to talk to guys like you at the top end of Ironman racing, because you get to race your Ironman marathon like everybody else gets to race a running race, like a 10k or a half marathon. You get to put surges in and run against people, where I think for the majority of age groupers, they're all kind of like trying to pace it evenly and just trying to hang on to get to the 18 or 19 mile point and think, right, 6 or 7 miles to go. I know I can get myself to the finish line from here.
Yeah, I mean, it might be different for like some of the top age groups who are going for Kona, because there's only a couple of slots left. But I mean, a lot of it for me is like the fields are quite small, like the pro fields, like you might only have 30 or 40 people, and you need to know what their weaknesses are and what yours are. Like who can you outrun, who can't you? Because loads of that completely determines how you'll race the Ironman. Like if you know someone's going to outrun you, then there's no way on earth you want to be starting the run with them. Like I knew Matt Hansen would have probably outrun me, and he did outrun me on the day. He put 4 minutes into me and broke the run course record. So there was no way I wanted to start with him on the run. So I knew I had to drop him on the bike. And you do surges, and a lot of it depends on what, because you need to be honest with yourself. You need to know who you can outrun, who you can't, and how much time you need in the bank, because that all alters how you race the Ironman.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to come back to the bike, because I'm sitting here at the moment and I'm looking at some pictures of you from Ironman New Zealand, and I'm a bit of a bike geek. Everybody knows that, and it's obvious to me looking at the side-on pictures that you've been very experimental with your position over the winter, and you've changed it quite significantly, haven't you? Riding now with this kind of upturned arm position, almost like Floyd's praying mantis type position from years ago in the Tour de France. How's that working out for you? How did you come around to that position?
Just experimenting really. I read up on it, and I'd seen some good stuff and some bad stuff, and I thought I'm going to try it. And I mean, it feels comfortable though. Like it feels really nice. You can hold it, and because you're obviously resting on your elbows, it's actually a very comfortable position, and you do feel like you can generate a decent amount of power. I mean, I'm not entirely sure 100% whether or not it is quicker or not. I mean, I'm doing a few time trials coming up on courses what I've rode before, so I'll obviously see what power I do and what speeds and stuff like that. But it's just trying different things. I mean, I
noticed it's very similar actually, Joe, to the position that Matt Botterill rides in, and that's what made me. That's the instant thing, because I've obviously just been taking photos of him and putting him on for last week's edition. And I just was like, oh, Joe's position this year is just like Matt Botterill's, with the hands like quite high, so it's almost as though your hands are in front of your chin.
Yeah, you can get your head
totally closed off that area of wind almost, right?
Yeah, and you can get your head right in there if you want. So it's like really narrow, like frontal position, and it is a lot more comfortable than what it looks. I find it more comfortable than my previous position. The only downside I would say to it is that if you're riding in crosswinds, it's quite sketchy. So if you're doing a windy course or a technical course, it's probably not the best. But if you're doing a fastish course that's not very windy, it's really, I think it's fast. I think it is good.
Did you use that position in Kona, or have you changed to it?
I've changed it. I had some 30-degree bars on in Kona, and I've gone for the 50-degree ones there. So it was similar in Kona, but it's a bit more extreme now.
Yeah, you got to imagine in Kona you're definitely going to get hit by those side winds, and like you said, if you're going to lose a little bit of the...
Yeah, you'd have to experiment really out there and see how bad it is, because in Kona a lot of the crosswinds come on think you find on the descent, and if it is bad crosswinds, even if you've got a quite a conservative position, you still can't ride on the tri-bars if they're really bad. So you might not actually lose too much time, but then you do really feel the winds. From what I noticed this year in Kona, was a massive headwind for the last 30-40 k's, and it wouldn't be too bad in the headwind. You'd be able to control it quite easily, and it might be it would be pretty fast, because obviously your profile's a lot smaller. So it would have to be, although it is windy in Kona, if you've got the crosswinds on that descent and a lot of people aren't able to ride on the tri-bars, you're not actually losing that much to them.
Yeah. What have you got planned for the rest of your year? Now you've been out and you've done New Zealand, and I'm presuming your Kona points are pretty much now, well, if they're not in the bag, they're definitely, you're on track, aren't you, with the second place at New Zealand?
Yeah, I'm pretty much there. I mean, for the rest of the year, I've got Fuerteventura on the 23rd of April, Challenge Fuerteventura, and then I'm going to go to Font Romeu with my dad for a bit of altitude training. Like, he's going to come out there and like help me in Font Romeu from the 9th till the 28th or 29th of May. There's a half what I'm doing just at the end, which is a challenge one near Barcelona. I think it's Challenge Salou. And then I've got...
Oh, yeah, I've got a couple of guys racing that, actually.
Oh, right, yeah, I'll see.
I'll have to hook you up with them when you're out there.
Yeah, I'll see them there then. And then after that, I've got Staffordshire 70.3 on the 12th of June, I think it is.
Oh, you're racing Staffordshire, eh?
Yeah, I'm going to race Staffordshire. I'd like to do a good
race. That'll suit you, that one.
Hopefully, yeah. I'd like to do a good result there. And then after that, I've got Challenge Galway on the 26th of June. And then the big one is Challenge Roth, which I'm going to go for the British record on the 17th of July.
Wow, so you're racing Galway before Roth, are you?
Yeah, it's like 3 weeks before. But I mean, I'm not going to like taper for all of them. Some of them I'll be training through and using them as like decent sessions. The whole idea is to be on the Challenge Roth start line in the best possible shape, going for the British record. That's the big goal for this season, is to go sub-8 there.
How fast do you think you can go at Roth if you have the perfect day and conditions are good and all of that? How fast do you think you can possibly go?
Well, we've
got to think you've got to be able to get your swim down to like a 51, right?
Yeah,
by
definitely
do
that.
Around.
I mean, the Roths are quite a quick swim, and if I was doing a 53 in New Zealand off like literally hardly any training, I'd like to think that if I took my fastest splits from, I know it's you can't really say that, but if I did my fastest swim, what I've done in Ironman, my fastest bike, and my fastest run, then it would be a 49 swim, a 410 bike, and a 245 run. Although it would have been a 243 run at Weymouth had it been the accurate, like the right distance, and I'd carried on. But officially, I've done a 245 twice on legit courses. So if you said 245, 410, 49, if I could do all them on one day, then it would be miles under 8 hours. I don't know what that adds up to,
Sweet.
but it's well under.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that, like 50 minutes, say, for 49 minutes for the swim, 410 something, so that's 5 hours, 245 run, 745, 5 minutes for transitions, 750. Then I got a 10-minute buffer.
Yeah, good. Well, if it all plays out, that'd be perfect.
Under 8 hours, like I would take 7 hours 59. Like that would be a success. For me, it's just about the time. I mean, I do love racing for positions and going for the win, but there I just want to. It's just a massive goal of mine to go under 8 hours.
Yeah, because that's nice.
Not many people have done it.
Select group, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, and it's something that's always going to be with you, isn't it? Like when you're finished, you can say that you've gone under 8 hours for an Ironman. There's not going to be a massive amount of people that have done that, and no one's ever going to go under 7 hours. So you're in kind of, like you say, a select group, aren't you? And it's just a goal what I'd like to do. And
is there anyone else racing out there who's a similar sort of swimmer to you that you'll be able to ride with, do you think?
I haven't got a clue. I don't know who's racing it.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? For you to have someone like Dougal Allen to ride with that's a similar sort of power.
That'd be fantastic.
I think
I would actually say that he's actually a stronger cyclist than me. That he is unreal on the bike. He is seriously.
He's put some amazing splits together already this year, hasn't he?
Yeah, I would say he's probably the fastest biker around in Ironman at the moment. Actually, you've got Starkovic.
Strong as that, you think?
Yeah, he is seriously underrated. I think with Starkey might ride a bit faster, but he can't run anywhere near as good as Dougal. Dougal in New Zealand was probably feeling it a bit from Wanaka, but he still managed to run around 3 hours, 3:03, something like that, which Starkey would only do on a really good day. But I don't know how hard Dougal's pushing it on the bike. I think Starkey's maybe pushing it really hard, hence why he's not really running under 3 hours very often. But yeah, Dougal is seriously strong on the bike. It would be good to see what he could do on a fast course on the bike, because I think that he would certainly give 4 hours a good go on a fast course. Like say he did Roth or something like that.
You'll have to talk to the organisers, man, and get the organisers of Roth to fly Dougal Allen over.
Yeah.
That'd be good. You two make a fearsome team on the bike, man.
Yeah, I need a couple of people, don't I, like that, really.
You sure do. Have you picked up any new sponsors for this year?
Yeah, I've got Recon. Recon instruments.
Yeah, they look cool, man. Tell us about the Recons. They are pretty space age Robo Joe glasses, aren't they?
Yeah, they're like sunglasses, and you can see all your training metrics when you're going along. So like if you're running, you can see like pace, heart rate, average pace. You can even see like maps and take pictures if you wanted to while you're running. Does
it do power data as well?
Yeah, on the bike it does like power data, heart rate, cadence, and you can have like I think 6 screens if you wanted, like 6 different screens showing 4 metrics. So you can have a lot of data if you wanted to. And it's good as well because you can get maps. So if you're riding in a different place, you can like look at. It will like know what way you look. When you look, say left and right, it will show you looking up a certain road. So if you knew you were looking. If you were trying to find a certain road, you'd be able to see it on your glasses, and then.
That's cool. That is really cool.
Yeah, they are pretty cool. I tried them in Kona.
That's good stuff. And I noticed you've got some new wheels on there as well. Is it Alto wheels?
Yeah, Alto cycles. They're really good. They are. I really rate them. I tried them after Kona because they contacted me and said they were interested in sponsoring me, and I didn't want to go with. Because I'd never heard of them, so I didn't want to go with a company that I hadn't heard of and potentially ride slower wheels than what I already had. So I said, "Oh, send them to me and I'll try them, and if they're good, then I'll be up for it." And I tried them and I was really impressed. So yeah, I've gone with them just because I do really believe in them and think they're fast. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered because I don't want to go with something that's slower for the sake of it.
Yeah, of course. No sense. Where are they based, man? Are they a UK company?
No, they're American. I think.
Okay.
They're based in Florida.
Okay. Nice. They look pretty zowie, I've got to say, with the old fluorescent pink stickers on matching your kit.
Yeah, they'll do like any colour you want. And I thought, well, I'll get pink on because it matches the kit, and it's everyone knows that, don't they? Like that, I kind of wear pink now.
That's Joe's colour.
Yeah.
And we mentioned last week you got Zone 3 wetsuits already all lined up, and you with Talk Nutrition now.
Yeah, I'm with Talk for this year. And that's been really good because, like in New Zealand, the gels are actually a lifesaver for me because I think they're a bit more. I don't know if they're a bit more. They might be a bit more diluted than the ones that I was previously using, but I really like the flavors as well. So, like in New Zealand, I was having the raspberry ripple one on the run, and it tasted lovely. It actually tasted nice, which I don't think you can say about many gels. So you'd actually quite look forward to taking it, which like has never normally happens with me. Normally I'm like dreading taking a gel. So yeah, and the aid stations were quite far apart, so it was good that it did feel like that because I think in the past I have suffered with a bit of hunger knock on the run because by that point you've had so much sugary stuff that it's hard to get it down. You know you need it, but you're just trying to force it down the whole time. So yeah, that's
how many do you take on the run? What's your sort of calorie intake per hour? Do you know?
Probably take. I reckon I probably have about 250 calories on the run an hour.
Okay.
Maybe more. No, maybe more. Maybe 300, 350. But I take a lot on the bike. Like I'm probably taking 500 an hour on the bike. 450, 500 an hour.
as much as that. Wow.
Yeah.
So you're kind of stocking up on the bike, and then
it's hard to say how many I take on the run because you drink a lot of Coke as well, and you don't know how much you're actually getting down. But I mean, I'll try and take. I would like to take more on the run, but it's just trying to get it in. Also, with talk as well, it's been really good getting the advice because I was suffering a lot with like getting really bloated during the Ironman. Like in transition, like if you, in Kona, for instance, after the race, I've seen pictures and I looked like I was pregnant, mate. After the run, honestly, like tummy was bloated as anything, but they weighed me and I was 4 kilos lighter. So I was getting a lot of this like water retention in my stomach, which I didn't know why. I was like, because it had happened a couple of times before, and they said that maybe I'm eating too much fat in the morning of the race, which is causing it. So for New Zealand, I didn't like. I love peanut butter, but I cut down on that on the day of the race. Didn't have hardly any compared to what I would normally, and I didn't suffer from the bloating. So yeah, it's
maybe
just
that
good
solved
to get
the problem for you.
Yeah,
hey?
it's just good to get the input off them because they really do know their stuff on nutrition. So yeah, it's good to get that advice from them as well because I mean I don't know a massive amount on nutrition.
So listen, man, one last question for you. Let's fast forward to the end of the season. How fast do you think you can go? How well do you think you can do at Kona this year based on what you did last year on your debut?
Oh, a lot faster. I had a terrible run in Kona. I was running really well before. The encouraging thing for me is that they said last year was unusually hot. One of the hottest I've had like for the last 8 years. Which is good because I was running very well before. The week before I was running 250 pace like for a long run and it felt comfortable and I was looking at my heart rate and it was quite low, so I think I could run 250 on the run. I think I could do a decent bike, maybe be a bit quicker on the run. The thing with me is I can ride the bike solo, ride the same pace as the leaders and still do a good run. Like I mean I did that in New Zealand. I ran the same I ran a decent run, but I did the whole bike by myself and even brought them back a bit. And in Kona last year I run the same pace. I biked the same pace as like Frodeno and all them. Like I didn't lose any more time. And on my day, if I can cope with the heat, I think I could do a decent run. So I think I could get right up there. I think I could do a 250 on the run, and if I'm stronger on the bike than what I was last year, I might be able to take them down by like a couple of minutes. Especially if Lionel Sanders is improving his swim, like he keeps saying he is. I might have people to ride with, which would obviously be a massive help. And if we're both swimming a couple of minutes quicker, we could be right up there.
Yeah, and that'd be good to see, mate.
The top 10. I'd be very disappointed if I didn't get in the top 10 this year. I think that would be a bit of a disaster because I don't have to rely on other people like some people do on the bike. Like if they miss the pack, they're screwed. If I don't miss the pack, I'm still going to ride the same speed as the leaders anyway, and I'll probably ride faster than them. I'm going to be putting out more power. So I've got that on my side.
Good stuff. All right, well, listen, man, I'm going to let you go. Thanks ever so much for coming on the show and doing an interview. It's great to catch up with you, and well done in New Zealand. It's great you've set your season up, and I really look forward to seeing you go super fast in Roth and then hitting that top 10 as you've aimed for in Kona.
Thanks very much.
All right, mate, great to talk to you, and we'll catch up again with you soon. Thanks very much,
See you later.
Joe.
Bye.
Right, Hells, Joe Skipper is another one who is continually raising his game as well, isn't he?
Yes, just a little bit. Oh, so excited by what he did in New Zealand, and I cannot wait for Roth.
Yeah, it's going to be a good performance over there in Roth. I hope he doesn't fall foul of the traditionally in Roth. There's always been I've heard these stories about the lead pack on the bike get the course cleared for them by the cars that are going through. And the guys who are a minute or so back don't have that advantage, and so they've got to ride through the age groupers and stuff. I remember years ago hearing an interview with Chris McDonald, who was he was a decent swimmer. He was not a shabby swimmer, but he missed the main pack and came out of the water something like 49 seconds down on the lead group, and he rode 49 seconds behind the lead for the whole day. And he said it was so frustrating for him because he could see like the lead car clearing everybody out of the way for him and going up the big hill, everyone parted, and then the crowds closed back in again and he got stuck behind age groups and stuff going up the hill. So I've just got this feeling that Roth has this reputation of being lightning fast, because you see these, the lead guys always do a lightning fast bike split.
Yep.
I just hope Joe doesn't get caught up
in amongst
2 minutes down or 3 minutes down and, just doesn't get that advantage, unfortunately.
I think all we can do is cross those fingers.
Come on, Joe, get in the pool. Put some more miles in. We need you in that lead group, mate.
Oh, he did a good job though, Rob, standing in last week as well. So thanks, Joe, for that.
Yeah, he's a good co-host,
He's a great co-host.
Good. He does his P's. He's never on time, but he does his P's.
Oh, it's brilliant.
It's all good. Yeah, cool stuff. Right, let's move over to Coach's Couch. I've had a question for Coach's Couch.
We have. So, Rob, quite a lot of people have been asking this one. How should you race or how should you run a marathon as part of your Ironman build? And obviously we've just had Manchester, we've got London in a couple of weeks, so there'll be quite a few people doing London ahead of an Ironman this summer. Yeah,
I think it's quite common for people to enter a marathon, especially if it's their first Ironman this time. And a lot of people think, well, I'm gonna either use the marathon as part of the build-up because maybe they haven't done a marathon before, or they think it's a good opportunity to race a marathon and then use that fitness to build on for their Ironman later on in the year. And this has come up a lot this weekend. We've had Manchester Marathon the weekend just gone, and we've got London coming up in a couple of weeks. And a lot of the athletes I coach have entered a marathon already. And they want to race it. So I think we've got 2 or 3 different sets of advice we can give out. And the first one is looking at the bigger picture. The coolest thing to do with your fitness when you're fit is to go out and race. And you're probably not going to be in top marathon shape that many times in your life. And so the temptation is to go, right, I'm going to go and run this marathon as hard as I possibly can, try and do a PB or break 3 hours or, do whatever, have your hardest possible race. And there's something to be said for that approach. You could talk about some guys approach it as doing a 12 to 16 week run block during the worst winter months of the year, get themselves in marathon shape and then do the race, transition into bike training. And if they're racing a summer Ironman, then they kind of think that their run training is taken care of from earlier in the year. And I just wanted to give a little bit of feedback really from what I've seen from the athletes who are racing this weekend, and give some advice on the way we've found to get around that problem of wanting to race, but also being aware the problem is if you do race really hard in a spring marathon, it can absolutely wipe you out for weeks and weeks afterwards. And even when you're in top run shape as a runner, I remember this from years ago, a mate of mine who was a pure runner saying to me, the problem with you triathletes is you approach a marathon as though it's just something you're doing on the way to your summer race.
Yep.
And for runners, it's like a 2 or 3 year project to go and run a marathon. It's like a really big deal. It's the biggest thing in running to go and run the London Marathon. And he sort of said, you guys just kind of go and do it as though it's nothing. And that's where you make your mistake. And it really made me think, there's something in that actually, because it is a really big deal to go and race a marathon. So couple of ideas, I think, for running a marathon if you've not settled on your strategy yet. And this is mainly advice aimed at people who are using it as part of their build up to an Ironman later on in the year. My gut says if you're going to race a marathon as hard as you possibly can, the time to do that is to do it after you've done your Ironman. So do your Ironman, take a break, do a run build and do it in October, November or December, and build on the fitness you've got from your Ironman to go and do your marathon then. If you're going to do it in the springtime, I think you've got to treat it as a training run. And that means the key thing about it is you want to be bouncing back from your marathon as quick as you possibly can. And when you look at it in those terms, you want to bounce back quickly. So that's probably going to negate the idea of running as hard as you possibly can at this time of year. So 2 approaches we came up with for different sets of athletes. I had one group of guys run it sub-maximally, and they were probably in 3 hour shape. They went out and ran 3:10, 3:11 and kind of did a controlled e-pace run to halfway and then mentally pushed on from halfway and treated it as a tough second half tempo run. They did well. They did exactly what they wanted to do and did it on the tin. And I think that's great. They've saved themselves from completely smashing themselves up.
Yeah.
They've still had a hard tempo run, but it's not going to have the same effect on them as racing the whole way would have done. Another way I had somebody do it, and this was a really well executed run. He went out, he's in great run shape, and he went out and did it as a 9-1 run walk.
Okay.
And I said, you get yourself to the 32k point as 9-1, running at this pace, which was his e-pace run. And from the 32k point, you can then run a tempo 10k at the end of it. So again, a slightly different approach to it.
Yeah.
He got to the 32k point feeling great, except for the fact people in the crowd kept shouting at him, come on, don't give up.
Why are you walking?
He was walking at the 10-minute point, and he was like, I've never had so many people have a go at me and give me a load of abuse, But he stuck with it, showed massive mental resilience, and looking at the stats, past 600 people in the last 10k.
Wow.
Yeah, so mentally, that for him, he's come away with this massive amount of confidence. He knows he can run his Ironman pace type run for 32k and then finish with a strong 10k where he picked the pace up by 30 seconds a kilometre, something like that, and came away from it not completely smashed and also really confident. So I think that's my advice to people. Treat it as a catered long run. Treat it as something that's going to build your confidence for later on in the year. If you go out too hard and you fall apart, I think you're going to end up with a lot of mental doubts there at this point. So treat yourself to a mental surprise rather than something that's going to kick you in the teeth, really. Fantastic
advice. That's good, Rob.
There we go. There's our coach's couch for this week.
Brill.
And do you know what we can do now? Somebody who knows a thing or two about running is our second interview of this week.
Double whammy.
Double whammy, double interview week. We managed to catch it with Mat Rushbrook, who you'll remember we mentioned as the winner of the Liverpool to Manchester Ultra 48 miler from a couple of weeks ago. So I managed to get him on for just a quick interview. And there'll be some interesting little insights here about if anyone's thinking about stepping up to ultra running. I think you'll find Matt's interview very interesting. So I'll hand you over to our interview now. Matt, welcome to the Cup of Tri podcast. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm very well, thank you, and thanks for having us on.
Mate, it's great to have you on. It's nice to have a local superstar winning ultra distance races to come and contrast with international triathlete superstars, mate. I think people are going to be very interested in the story of someone who's gone from a relatively normal but fast runner and ended up completing 47 miles, 48 miles in the end. Liverpool to Manchester ended up being.
Yeah, well, 48 for those with an extra turn or so, but I managed to, just sneak in 47. So
I think you were just about the only person who didn't get lost in the closing miles, weren't you?
Well, I was until the very last turn. That was the last place I hadn't recce'd. The last 100 metres, I came into the finish the wrong end. So that was quite amusing for the race organisers. After I did offer to run back round the field, but they kindly let me off the last 100 metres. So,
that's very, very kind of them.
So
listen, let's go through this crazy harebrained scheme from the start. Then we all saw an advert online back end of last year that's advertising a race, basically that goes from it goes from Liverpool all the way to Manchester along a kind of disused railway line that's called the Transpennine Trail up here in the northwest. And the first thing we've got to say to you is congratulations on being the winner. Really, did you ever expect that you were gonna come out victorious in this one?
Well, firstly, thank you very much. But I don't know. It's very difficult. You can never expect or you never know who else is going to turn up on the day. There's obviously fantastic runners out there, but people that know me, I'll always go with the intentions of at least having a race if I can. So, I certainly didn't go expecting to win, but I certainly went with the intentions of, giving someone a good race. Either way, really.
So for people who've not heard of you before, obviously you're a kind of age group athlete rather than an elite triathlete. So let's go over your background a bit. You started out as racing age group triathlon, and then a few years ago you've kind of moved away from triathlon, and around the sort of northwest you're definitely one of the fastest 5k, 10k runners. How have you ended up headed towards ultra running, Matt?
it was really, really by accident. I kind of had taken a little bit of time off triathlon and entered my local half marathon, and I came away with a win there, and it kind of sort of set me up really to having a go at running after I'd been doing tri for some time, and off the back of that local half marathon, I entered London, and sort of long story short, I just trained for that, and then I've not started running since really. I've done London now a couple of times, and then entered one other local ultra before this one, just with the intention of enjoying the route and learning some new running routes sort of near me. And I think we had such a good event on in that instance that the club decided to sort of get behind this new inaugural Liverpool to Manchester Ultra, run by this new company, and I was kind of somewhat bullied into it, shall we say, because I was one of the few that had done the previous Ultra, the Warrington Way, run by a great local club, Limb Runners, and I think people saw the fun that we'd had in that one, and so a number of us, well, they certainly entered the race, and I was somewhat bullied into it, shall we say.
So the Warrington Way run was, if I remember rightly, was that 40 miles?
Yes, yeah.
Which is a blooming long way at the best of times. So I just kind of wanted to get somebody on and talk through with them what goes through your head when you're preparing mentally to run. And obviously everyone who's done a marathon knows it's a very long way. What goes through your head in training when you're preparing to do a 40-mile run, or in this case a 48-mile run?
Well, again, it's weird. People listening will sort of understand where I'm coming from, and it's slightly more enjoyable to start with because you don't give yourself the immediate pressures of times and and racing, and you sort of go out and you enjoy the training, logging the miles and not so much hitting paces all the time. You still go out and do various training sessions, your tempo runs, your hill runs, and what you can sort of, get in depending on work and other family commitments. But I've actually found a real enjoyment in probably somewhat taking some pressure off, hitting those times, because to go into an ultra, certainly the first one I did, as a complete novice, was just to go and enjoy it. Again, lack of experience, sort of probably did myself no favours in that first one, deciding to race against another very, he's an extremely competent ultra runner, Charlie Sharp, who wins, huge amounts of international races. I managed to race with him for the first 20 miles or so, and then survived the last 20 in that particular event.
We should share this with the listeners. Really, you're well known around here for your fearless attitude to racing, I think, is the best way to describe it. And one of my favourite posts of yours on social media before that event was a simple paragraph that said, "The only pace is suicide pace, and today's a good day to die."
It is. I'm a massive fan of Prefontaine's, all his his great quotes. It's probably not the best event to use them in an ultra, but it can help sometimes, I guess, when you toe the start line, not really knowing what to expect, and at the minute, you sort of get into a race. It's a case of, well, I'll give it my all until there's nothing left to give, really.
Did you feel like it was a mainly mental challenge rather than physical on the day? Without
a doubt. I mean, I trained, gaining that experience from the first one, going into the Liverpool race. I had a lot more idea with regards to pace, and knowing that it was going to be mental, as in the mental side of it, because, and this is a game where it's great, and the ultra running community, everyone goes through the tough times. You have good times, and then there's tough times. And for me, racing it, I kind of hit mile 32, and I really just didn't think I was going to be able to continue. But you kind of have it in the back of your mind, if it's as difficult for you, then surely the other people are going to be suffering somewhat as well. But again, in everyone else's race, because people go in there, to hit certain times, to get round, and it is definitely, 90% like in your head, without a shadow of a doubt. And it was really good listening to Chris's interview the week before. I sat driving around with it in my car and sort of build up to the race. She's, so often she talks about, having that control of the mind, and and it's you tell yourself that over and over again, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But
so how did the race play out in terms of? It's interesting for me to think there's even any actual racing goes on in an event that's so long. I'd assume it's just like a war of attrition, really. But the gun goes off, and what kind of pace did you decide to go off at, and how did it play out over the first half, and then maybe we'll talk a little bit later on about the second half of the race.
Well, I'd kind of, again, when you ask about do you go into these things expecting to win, I hadn't. I'd gone there expecting to race, but I'd kind of set myself what I thought was a realistic goal of running just under 6 hours. And I'd sort of done all my training runs and thought I could sort of run at sort of 7:15, 7:30 pace. But yeah, the gun went off, and there was a group of 5 or 6 of us, and we eased into, I think we were sort of 7:10 pace, and it was quite bizarre because the guys I were with, were chatting away, and you're thinking, I can't do this for 40 odd miles. And I think somewhat, there's mind games in there, they're sort of describing and, explaining some of the races they'd done. But, I had my own race plan to a degree. And it was quite evident early on that the guys were unsure of some of the course. And luckily, one of the reasons that I had done the race was there was local, so I'd been quite fortunate and had decided and chose to go out and recce the course. So sort of after about 10, 11 miles, I decided to try and put in a couple of quick miles just to see A, if anyone would come with me, and B, there's some of the technical parts of the course in that little bit of the section. And luckily, none of the group decided to come with me. But then sort of unluckily, I soon realised that it's actually quite a long and lonely way to go then.
So you were pretty much on your own from the 10, 12 mile point for the rest of the day, were you?
Yeah. Other than the fantastic support and the, and the checkpoints, it was, it did get quite lonely, especially when it started getting tough. But yeah. Again, I'd set out and gone out with a race plan of, being able to knowing full well that I'd be able to run the marathon distance. And the other good thing about that, it sort of goes past near to where I live. So I was then on familiar territory. So, psychologically, the first sort of 26 to 28 miles, I knew I could comfortably do. But yeah, that's then when it starts to get a bit more difficult.
And after that, it's a step into the unknown, I guess. Hey, so and I'm really keen to explore this with you a little bit, because you are known in local training circles for being an extremely mentally tough competitor, and I was wondering if there are any mental tips or tricks that we can pick up and learn from you, from the kind of things you told yourself, because you mentioned earlier it got to the point at 32 miles when you thought, I don't think I can go on anymore. And I think a lot of people are probably going, yeah, I'd imagine I'm feeling like that at 32 miles as well, but you've still got 16 miles to go. So what did you tell yourself? Was it a case of self-talk, or what was going on, Matt?
I think it's more like you're talking about some of my background. I have no athletic background. It all stems from joining the Marines when I was 17, and I think that does help in some instances, because I know you advocate the run walk, but kind of found whilst I was racing, I had no plan to put walks in. But there comes a time where you just got to think, right, I'm just going to have to walk through this checkpoint, have a bit of a rest through this aid station. And it just literally came to ticking off each mile, really. Not thinking about the bigger picture. Don't think about, I think the second to last checkpoint was at mile 35. So, you've still got just shy of a half marathon to do. So you kind of break it down into little blocks. And it really was just right, run to that next tree. You can't, say to yourself, like, you can't stop until you get to the next tree. And then you get to that next tree and you think, right, I can go a little bit further. I'll just go that little bit further. And it kind of played out like that for 10 miles. It was like, run that little bit. And then if I did have to walk, I made sure, got some good nutrition or, concentrate on breathing and stuff. And then just knowing, really, I think that, you will get through that tough patch. You have to, to slow your sort of pace down slightly. And again, I think one of the things I kept saying to myself was, if I'm suffering this much, then surely some other people are as well. Not that you're wishing anyone to be suffering, but when you're racing, you kind of think to yourself, well, and then when there's that far to go, if people were to sort of catch up and overtake, there's still a long way to race. So, but yeah, that kind of played for 10 miles, and I think it was just literally run to that next tree, run that bit, run this bit. And then at mile 42, I got a bit of a heads up from one of the marshals that second place was sort of about 5 minutes away now, just under half a mile. And then from mile 42, I managed to, you sort of found a second, third, fourth, or fifth wind. I'm not quite sure which one it was. And then I just managed to plod on till the end. And I think this is where, I don't know whether to say fortunate is the right word, but I'd gone and recce'd the course. And I'd actually gone the night before, because when I'd recce'd it, I'd taken a wrong turn and I hadn't covered the last couple of miles. So I went out the night before, drove down to the finish, and took my training partner Harry, my young cocker spaniel. We went around the last couple of miles. So when you're that tired, it was fresh in my head. And I think, because in the end, I think second place came in sort of 20 minutes afterwards. And I'd unfortunately taken a wrong turning, probably the wrong turning that I'd taken in my recce. So I think it would have been a lot closer if I hadn't taken a wrong turning. But so I think it kind of boiled down to that, really, the fact that I'd gone out and recce'd the course, and
What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about doing their first ultra? We're probably talking about people who, most of our audience are doing triathlon, probably Ironman, and they're thinking about looking for the next challenge and maybe stepping up and doing an ultra run. Have you got any advice you can pass on, do you think?
I think as much with age group training, because it's quite daunting, and you sort of think, how much, because of the distances. But I mean, I just try to take one sort of day at a time with my training, if things get in the way to how far you can go. But I think it's just, I find swimming really difficult. So it's, and I always used to sort of try and enjoy it as much as I can. But I think ultra distance, it's becoming so popular. But, just go and have a try, really. And it's, make sure, you sort of, I'd say recce the route if you can. But sort of, I think equipment's a big thing. I practiced with an awful lot of different equipment and different bags and belts. And
that's a good question, actually, because I noticed you had on it was almost like how do you describe it? Is it like an ultra vest that goes over your t-shirt and gives you room to carry gels and water and stuff in?
Yeah, that's what most people use. And I used that in my first one, but I actually changed to one of the belts this time round, just because the organisers had 7 checkpoints, so I knew that there'd be plenty of places to sort of fill up on water and nutrition. So I used a belt on this occasion, but I'd gone out and trialed different vests and different belts and different flasks and stuff. So certainly if people are going to go out and do it, I did all my training runs, with all my kit on. Because people always talk about having nutrition plans and Ironman and going out and trialing your nutrition. Certainly when you're running sort of 40, 50 miles, you need to know that the kit's going to be comfortable. So I think that's certainly a big one. And just like I said, I wouldn't necessarily say it's easier, but than sort of people that go out and run marathons. But I've certainly found it does seem to take a slight amount of pressure off yourself that you don't have.
Yeah, a few of the guys said that, didn't they? That they found it more enjoyable because it was almost like this bonkers thing with no expectation of pace and no expectation of finish time. And it was just, there seemed to be a really great camaraderie amongst the competitors as well, which I think sometimes gets lost in running races, doesn't it?
Oh, most certainly. Because if something's going to be going for sort of 50 miles, then there's a long way to go. So it's quite, if you want to have a conversation or you want to stop and help or stop and chat to someone, then you've got time to do it. And you're stepping into the unknown. Certainly if you're on varying terrain and stuff, so you can't sort of set yourself that exact pace or that number that you necessarily want to hit. People still have goals. Like I said at the beginning, there were certain sort of times I wanted to sort of try and hit, but because you're stepping into the unknown, the sort of pressure's not there. If it's not going right, like I said at mile 32, if it's not going right, then you sort of think about it more like, what am I going to do at this specific mile to get me to the next mile, rather than, am I going to be able to do sub 20 from a 5K park run, because people still, because that's a big thing now. People always have numbers and goals to sort of hit, and albeit it is a bonkers. I think the goal in itself in the ultra running is just to get round, because it is so bonkers, and it is, can I get round kind of thing.
Yeah, and that gives everybody who's competing a kind of common goal, I suppose, doesn't it? So what's next for you? Do you see yourself doing any more ultras in the future? Probably when your legs were a little bit less sore, hey?
Well, yeah. In the immediate future, hopefully I'll be travelling down to London in a few weeks to run the marathon again. But funny, as I crossed the line at this last one, the race organisers, as I was sat there taking my shoes off, looking at my somewhat swollen feet, they said, "Oh, congratulations as the winner of the inaugural event. You've a free entry into our race across Great Britain, our 200-mile race." At which point, At which point, I just looked and said, "No, there's no chance of that." And my wife, my wife, who was sat in the car, just looked, and she said to me later that she was just waiting for that time when I turned around, which was probably about 2 hours or so afterwards, and said, "Do you know what? Actually, that's not such a bad idea." So,
yeah, brilliant.
But that again, that's just that's a 50-mile race is something that I would go and race. A 200-mile is more of an epic adventure, isn't it? Really, it's just.
Have you got a temptation there to want to go and try and do 100?
Yeah, I think there's
there's a fascination with that number, isn't there?
Yeah, it's like you said with should people take up ultra running? Would they want to take it up? It's like with anything. When I first started triathlon, you start off doing it on your decathlon bike with your your sort of trainers, and you're getting changed in transition to come in the end of it with your aero helmet, your race wheels, your TT bike, and you go on and you go on, and and for me, ultra running is maybe the new challenge. So yeah, who knows where I'll stop. But
we'll be able to play this interview back to you, Matt, when you've won a 200-mile race in a few times. We'll be able to play back to you saying, "I'm never going to do that."
Exactly. I know it's scary, but.
All right, listen, mate, thank you very much for taking the time to come on the show, and congratulations on your win at the first Liverpool to Manchester Ultra Run. We look forward to hearing about more of your successes again in the future.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honour to be interviewed on the show. I'm a regular listener, so thank you very much.
You're welcome. Cheers, mate.
All the best. Thank you.
Imagine that, Hells. Imagine racing an ultra marathon.
Oh, God.
Not for survival, but actually going out and racing it and knowing you can be competitive and having that monkey on your shoulder the whole way.
Yeah, that is. It was just such an impressive performance. So good. And
it's a real lesson in mental fortitude, isn't it? That.
I think, yeah, we can all learn some things from Mat Rushbrook in terms of mental strength. I remember seeing a photo of him. I think was it at the finish line of the English Half Marathon Championships?
Yeah.
And he won it, didn't he? But he really wasn't leading until the last sort of.
He caught the leader with 150 meters to go on the last bend. Yeah. Hunted him down over the last 2 miles,
and so
really.
And that is it. So I just think there is so much you can take from that kind of thing. And you could see in his face at that finish photo, like how much he wanted it. And the mental strength that he had to dig so deep to get there. And a case of never, ever, ever bloody well give up.
Yeah, that's the attitude right there, isn't it? Never give up.
Yeah. So
cool stuff.
Oh, Rob, are you doing lots of running for Triathlon X?
I managed to run every day. Yeah, I'm managing to run every day, and I'm getting a long run in every couple of weeks or so. So yeah, I'm doing okay at this point, I think. Yeah. What I haven't done yet is anything over like 2.25 hours has been my longest run, and I've done a few of those, but what I really need to do is saddle up the backpack and get out into the mountains.
You just need to go to Macclesfield Forest.
Yeah, I need to go and
do some loops.
Well, what I'm doing at the moment is I'm going out with a family.
Yeah.
This is my sneaky tip for combining family time with training. We took Xand out he walked, bless him, for about 3 hours through the mountains yesterday, and then when his little legs gave up, I put him in one of those backpack carriers. And so I was pretty tired at the time, and I kind of wobbled down this mountain with him, 3 stone of him sitting in the back, and that's surprisingly good for hammering your legs.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
So I'm trying to build my endurance by doing some long hiking stuff.
Yep.
And then we'll build in the longer runs later on as we go along. But yeah, it'll be okay. I think the durability is the key for this. If I can keep running every day and keep this Achilles quiet, then that's the key. How are you going for Ironman UK?
Oh, all okay. I don't know. We're ticking along. It's
about time we kicked into the big build for you now, isn't it? Are you about 14 weeks out or 12 weeks out?
No,
it's not far
July,
to UK
it's
now, is it?
Middle of July.
Okay, so you've got about an extra 3 weeks to me. Yes, you're about 14 weeks, I think.
Yeah, with a few nice placed weddings just a couple of weeks out.
Perfect. Just what everybody needs, isn't it? It's weddings right in the middle of an Ironman build-up. Can you not set your turbo up at the back of the wedding and just kind of like, look, I've got to be here, but
no, I would. There is no way I would ever do that. No, absolutely no way. No, the 2 people getting married are far too important to me for that.
That would be a triathlete's wedding right there.
They take priority that weekend for sure.
Good for you, mate.
Screw the Ironman. Yeah.
All right, listen, let's wrap it up for this episode. We've got nothing else to talk about, have we? I've not missed anything.
Well, there's one thing.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Webinar.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about that. All right, so that's the one thing to mention before we go. If you guys are interested in improving your bike power, learning some of the bike training sessions that I use with my athletes, I'm going to be putting another webinar on. The webinar is going to be a week on Tuesday, so it's going to be Tuesday. I think it's the 19th of April, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. Got my calendar in front of me.
Nice. 8 p.m. But if you can't make it live, if you sign up via the link with your email address, we'll send you a link to watch the presentation afterwards. The sign up page is at team.oxygenaddict.com/power seminar, all one word. So you don't need the www there. It's team.oxygenaddict.com/power seminar. Put a link to it in the show notes. And if you pop your email address in, we'll send you a link. You've got to register for it because we've got to send out the invites to make all the the webinar software stuff work. So we'll be covering some training sessions that will help you increase your bike power, and that increased bike power will help you at any distance of race from sprint through to Ironman, and it'll make your bike split just that little bit shorter. So come along, tune in, check it out, and I'll try not to make you stare at my ugly face for too long on the video screen.
Good deal. Good deal. Rob, just before we go, you can go back and check out other previous episodes. You can look in iTunes or Stitcher, but also oxygenaddict.com/podcast. All the episodes are there with some show notes and stuff like that. You can get in touch with us. We are at Cup of Tri on Twitter. We love hearing from you. And if you have a question for Rob for Coach's Couch, then Rob, drop you an email on, what's the email address?
Coach Rob Wilby at oxygenaddict.com.
Great. Rob, we're both riding to Abersock on Friday, aren't we?
Oh, we certainly are. Riding 112 miles of joy.
It's our annual big bike ride with our triathlon club.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday...
And that's for Tri Club crew. Go on, Sunday you're racing, aren't you?
It's a duathlon.
Awesome.
Going to be fun. My leg is going to be screwed.
I'm going to look forward to hearing about your sufferfest through the last run of that one, I think, Helen.
Oh my God, it's going to be horrendous. Anyway.
Oh, you're going to love it. You are going to love it.
Apparently it's quite tough and it's hilly, so yeah, bring it on.
Listen, you can help us out. Share the show on Facebook and Twitter. When you see us sending the links out, if you can share them or retweet them or whatever it is you crazy cats do on social media, it'll help spread the word about it. And one last thing, if you're interested in supporting the show as a patron, you can click the link at the side of the page and find out more information about becoming a patron and support the show with a donation of £2 a month, £5 a month, or £10 a month. All donations gratefully received. And that's it for this week's show, isn't it, Hells?
It is. We will be back next week.
We will have an interview with John and Chris Thornham from Flow Wheels, talking about how two brothers started up their own carbon wheel company from their own bedroom. Really, really fun story, actually, Hells.
Sounds a bit like a podcast, Rob.
It's awesome, mate. These guys have started up a fantastic company that is making wheels to rival anybody out there, I think, and love a bit of entrepreneurship. So tune in next week to listen to them. And until then, I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray.
And you've been listening to the Cup of Triathlon podcast. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a great training and racing week. Bye now.